Hello viewers and welcome to Africa and Beyond Television Network. We continue to take a look on what is happening in Africa. South Africa is burning as we speak right now. Things are not well with Cyril Ramaphosa. Remember, he got into a coalition with the DA, but it seems as if the DA is continuously giving him sleepless nights. Remember, the DA made some demands in terms of government ministries, but it seems as if they are not ready. Ramaphosa and the ANC, they are not ready to entertain that move. And a lot is happening as we speak right now. They are afraid that one day what is happening in Kenya might even happen to South Africa. And you know, there is a talk of something very important where people are critically taking a look on what is happening in the nation South Africa. And Cyril Ramaphosa does not have a choice except having a coalition with the MK and the EFF. Remember, at this point in time, the DA will need the ANC for them to be able to recall Cyril Ramaphosa or remove him from the presidency. They will need the ANC to vote against Cyril Ramaphosa. They will need MK, EFF, and other small parties to vote against Cyril Ramaphosa. If without the ANC, the DA needs all parties, including the EFF and the MK, so that they are able to launch a possible fight. But, you know, this is a very huge task. Without the MK, without the EFF on board, then they cannot remove Cyril Ramaphosa. But at the same time, Cyril Ramaphosa is being put much pressure. The DA is threatening to pull out of the coalition if Cyril Ramaphosa does not meet his demands. What should he do? This is clear advice which is here. ANC need to go into negotiations with the EFF and the MK, and they need to ask for the MK and the EFF to donate their national numbers for them to have full control nationally. Then in exchange, they need to give EFF a control of either the Limpopo or Gauteng, then give KZN to the MK party. It's simple. This is what ANC could have done a long time ago, but because of Anambalula, they were very arrogant, not forthcoming, and they chose to go in bed with the DA. The demands of the MK and the EFF were quite rational because they said, we do not want to govern together with the with the DA party. And that was quite understandable. And if you take a look on this whole issue, Cyril Ramaphosa himself is not a good character, is not a good candidate for this whole thing. They wanted Cyril Ramaphosa not to have anything to do with this government because of his history, because of how he has destroyed institutions, how he is trying to destroy institutions in the nation South Africa. For example, he's trying by all means possible to have judicial capture the same way Emmerson Mnangagwa, his friend, has done over across the Limpopo. So you can actually see that Cyril Ramaphosa is not trusted by anybody with a rational mindset. But at this point in time, I believe that Cyril Ramaphosa is now the president, and I don't see the MK and the EFF coming to fight Cyril Ramaphosa directly at this point in time. But what Cyril Ramaphosa needs to do is to negotiate with these guys, the MK and the EFF, to say, guys, let us talk, let us have this government together, and let us build South Africa. And let us respect what the people of South Africa voted for. But because of arrogance, remember how Judge Hlophe was disgraced from the judiciary, how Jacob Zuma was disgraced as a former president. All those issues are very important. They need to be honest to each other and resolve those issues amicably. And Cyril Ramaphosa will need to open up and allow himself to be scrutinized, and also will need to be answerable in terms of his actions regarding that whole issue. So this is it. DA is calling the shots, and they have made it clear about what they want in South Africa. They need very critical ministries. We need to take a look onto those ministries, because this is where everything is going to fail. If the DA continues to demand something which is irrational, then there is a problem. You cannot continue to demand very important ministries like what Helen Zille and the team are doing. Taking a look onto these crazy demands, you can actually see that it's something else, because they need the Home Affairs, they need the basic education, they need the trade industry and competition, they need public works, they need communications and digital technologies, they need forestry, fisheries and environment, and also they need my deputy ministers, finance, energy, small businesses, and want to replace DTIC. So you can actually see that this is something which is quite irrational. And a part of these issues also, they need to have control of the Foreign Affairs Ministry. That is one of the demands which they have made so far to the ANC. And, Cyril Ramaphosa was supposed to announce the cabinet. These things have been changed severally. The one I was reading it's another one. I think it's another one, but there is this one which is very important. Let us go through this one because this one is very, 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 very vivid. The economic sectors, investment, employment, and infrastructure development, they needed the Ministry of Mineral Resources and Energy. Imagine, guys, these are the people who are in control of the South African minerals for a very long time. And they also wanted this ministry fully so that they continue to make policies which deprive black South Africans who are saying, let minerals from South Africa benefit everybody. Let them benefit the nation, not individuals. Something very important. And the Minister of Transport, they need Minister of Transport because, and also they've said we need the Transnet to be reallocated to this portfolio. This is a demand. The same Transnet they've been destroying is the same Transnet they need under the Ministry of Transport, such that when they have control, they will have control of everything. But remember, there is also, we always have a clash between Vanwema taxis and the DA people in terms of policies. How are they going to deal with this issue? Which means black empowerment in the transport sector is going to be very difficult. And also the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Competition, which means they seva in total control, full control kuti industry yacho ndo vari kuicontrola, then vobva vachiti nema ministry yacho ndo vari kumacontrola. So you see that is going to be a problem. That is going to cause so many problems in the nation South Africa. And this is the reason why this is being rejected at this point in time. Social protection, they need the Ministry of Public Works and Infrastructure. And they also need the presidency to be relocated to this portfolio. So which means they will be in charge of the whole presidency. They will be in charge of everything which happens within the presidency. They also need the Minister of Higher Education, Science and Innovation. Okay. And also the issue of governance, governance, state capacity, institutional development, they need the Minister of Public Service and Administration. Public service, it deals with the issue of employment of South Africans, which means they will be in charge of how people are employed. They will be in charge of businesses. They will be in charge of transport. They will be in charge of mines. They also need the Minister of Justice, the Minister of Home Affairs, which means they will be in charge of how people are arrested. They will be in charge of how people are tried in South Africa. They also need the Minister of International Cooperation. They need the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation, the Minister of Communication, Digital Technology. So you have the Foreign Affairs. It means you are now deciding foreign policy for South Africa. You need the communication. It means you are now deciding how communications happen in South Africa. And what does that mean? That is a total capture of the South African government. And also if they are given the finance portfolio even as the deputy in the capacity of a deputy, what it means, that is the total collapse of the ANC. There will be a de facto government. Ramaphosa anenge angova chitomtom chidzoi chinenge chiripo, and there is nothing they could have they will be able to do. It doesn't end there. They also need some directors in departments to report to the Democratic Alliance to be selected by panels consisting of Democratic Alliance ministers. And then they are submitted to the president for approval, which means everything will be run by the DA and the ANC will be watching from behind. And what power does the DA have? They have 20% of the total vote. 20% of the total vote. And they want to control everything just like that. When we have ANC at 40, EFF at 9, and MK at 14%. If you put together 0.5 from the EFF, 0.5 from the MK, that is the percent. So that is completely 15% for the AMK, 9% for the EFF. You see, if you say 15 plus 9, that is around 24 plus 40, 64%, which means these people can govern on their own. The three parties, they can govern on their own. And if they put other progressive parties which are in parliament, which joined the progressive alliance, then you can actually see that they have more seats even in parliament. They have a bigger percentage in everywhere. DA will be left alone with some smaller parties like Action SA and other useless parties. So what it means at this point in time is Cyril Ramaphosa is just playing a game right here to collapse everything and anything. But is this government going to survive? It depends on how they are going to deal with this matter. It depends on how they are going to approach this matter. Without the EFF, without the MK, then Cyril Ramaphosa is in a tight corner and is facing difficulties. It will be very difficult for him to be able to run this government. It will be very difficult for him to be able to deal with these issues. But remember that ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa then wrote a letter yesterday to John Steenhuisen, and we need to take a look onto this letter, what it says in terms of everything. You know, he says, I informed you that the habit of negotiating through correspondence as adopted by the DA can be problematic. It can, for example, make parties play to the gallery of public opinion through media leakages, resulting in the loss of focus on the real substance of the negotiations. I also informed you that we found the letter from your federal chairperson offensive, condescending, and inconsistent with the constitution. So this is something very important, because they are saying what the DA is demanding is something which is against the constitution of the Republic of South Africa itself. So, you know, this is something bigger. DA is trying by all means possible to play the bigger role, to be in charge and to be in control as per their plan. But, you know, as usual, Cyril Ramaphosa does not have an option because he seems to be captured. But let's go to the conclusion right here. He says that I'm sure that you are aware that the DA is not the only party we are negotiating with on the setting up of the government of national unity. Following my meeting with you yesterday, we have continued our negotiations with other parties that wish to be part of the GNU. As the ANC is leading the process of these negotiations, we have had to consider the proposal from other parties, and therefore what we discussed yesterday stands to be reconsidered, as you made clear to me that you would not be able to get less than the number of portfolios the DA desired over the line with your FedEx. I must advise that we are continuing to hold discussions with other parties over the portfolios they could occupy as we seek to finalize the agreement on the GNU. I need to advise that the task of setting up a government is quite urgent, as we cannot continue with this paralysis. I intend to continue all negotiations and consultations this week. Until then, I remain open to having further discussions with you. So this is something very important, because at this moment in time, the government of South Africa is paralyzed. No, nothing is moving. The government is completely paralyzed. Remember, elections happened on the 29th May. It's now nearly a month. Today is 28. Tomorrow it will be a month without a government in place in South Africa. And that is the problem. That is in its own a paralysis of a government. And it does carry a lot of repercussions. So you see that this government, no matter how they are going to deal with it, how they are going to enter into an agreement, it is not going to be a conducive government where Cyril Ramaphosa is going to make informed decisions. He will never make informed decisions from this coalition which he entered into. They are going to have fights and fights. If they are having fights right now and they are failing to form a government right now, what more if the DA doesn't get what they want? They can compromise to say, okay, let us get into that, and they'll continue to sabotage the other partners up until they get what they want. So this is the problem. It seems as if they are going to be more compromised. The DA does know what they want, and they have given wider demands so as to, if they negotiate, then they are left with what they really want. There are specific 3 or 4 ministries which they really want, so that they consolidate power. And they will corner ANC up until it accepts this. But what will be the fate of Cyril Ramaphosa is something interesting. Cyril Ramaphosa will face a challenge, and going forward, there is a great possibility that the ANC would say, let us remove this person for good, and let us have new leadership, let us have new people. And remember, they will have an advantage. They would negotiate with the MK, they will negotiate with the EFF, and they will find each other, find a common ground, and form another government. So this is very interesting. This is very interesting at this point in time, and we wait to see how everything is going to unfold. But it is going to be a very, very, very long night for Cyril Ramaphosa, because this government continue to be paralyzed. It's not moving. It's not working. But this is what is happening, and this is what has been happening. We'll continue to watch and see how they're going to end this. Forward, thank you very much for coming. Okay, Dina, thank you very much. Later, Mystery, thank you very much. It says, Ramaphosa was only needed to return to the office without assessing the impact of sharing the same bed with the enemy. Where's as he know that the enemy has a gun in his pocket? Yes, it's something very difficult for him, but we will see how they're going to outmaneuver the DA in this case. And the only solution to this will be for the ouster of Cyril Ramaphosa. That is my own view. We do not know if he is going to survive, because from now up to 2029 in bed with the DA, it's a very long journey. A long journey which is difficult to maneuver. So there is chaos in Africa. Go to Kenya. Ruto was forced to reverse the decisions of parliament. Is facing a lot of protests. In Malawi, they've called also for mass protests against the government of Chakwera. And in Zimbabwe, people are also thinking of the same things, which means there is a shaking which is happening in Africa. And there is a great possibility that very soon you see a crop of new leaders emerging across Africa. And that will be a transformation and a shift from the old to the new. It is what it is. We'll continue to check what is going to happen. Ranganai Machemeze, thank you very much for coming. Let us meet in other episodes as well as other broadcasts.